Stan Lee, the comic book writer, editor, publisher, media producer, television host, actor, and former president and chairman of Marvel Comics, one of the responsibles for the creation of Spider-Man, the Hulk, Fantastic Four and so. But what if the ex-Marvel chairman reimagined some of the most iconic DC characters? Will they be any good or even better? Or will they just be similar to his other creations but with DC's characters' names? Well, to answer that, we have to ask ourselves first. Should I read the Just Imagine series? Okay, first of all, let's get some context here, and remember, there are no spoilers on this part of the video. Stan Lee is known worldwide as one of the most iconic comic book faces in the world, but even though he has been a comic book icon for decades, he only created 2 series on DC Comics, and one of them was just one issue, while the other one was the Just Imagine series, where he reimagined Aquaman, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Catwoman, Flash, Shazam, Robin, and Green Lantern on separate origin issues that had nothing to do with the origins that we all know and love. But they are not just separate issues, no, they are a whole story between these characters. Spoiler alert, this is when it gets just a little bit spoilery. I'm waiting for you to go forward, and there we go. Almost every character has a weird origin that has to do with a green mist, and something that every issue has in common is the weird church called the Church of Eternal Empowerment with the Reverend Dark, because every time we see the church, the Reverend Dark is doing some weird magic to his acolytes and followers, and provokes a purple mist. Now, moving aside from this, don't expect any of the characters to have their original names, origin, or even powers, because Stan Lee pretty much gave us a whole new perspective of most of these heroes, moving aside most of the DC universe itself, but that doesn't take away the essence of the characters. Okay, the spoilers are over. Did you came back? Did you? There you are. But, since the origins are not the same, do you think that the characters are just going to look a lot like the Marvel characters that Stan Lee was a part of? Or do you think that Stan Lee didn't just reimagine the characters but he made them better? Well, if you wanna know, you will have to read it. Now the analysis. This time the analysis will be different since it's a unique series with the original characters. Level of sense. I know this sounds weird, but if you're making a unique series for an industry like DC Comics, you need to make sure that most of the things that you created make sense, or else everything will be illogical for people like us. So, sense being the explanation of everything that happened and the coherence that it has, it gets an A, because even though everything that happens on the universe is almost completely explained, and to be honest, it makes totally sense to me, there are some character origins that don't show me the real motivation besides just wanting to be a hero, knowing that it will be a huge risk for them. Level of action. Action being the reason of the fights, how the fights are developed, and especially the unpredictability of them, it gets a 7. The reason is pretty clear to me, because the origin fights look awesome, but not each one of them. Some of them are just way too predictable, and as the story develops, there are many awesome fights, but still, some of them are just way too predictable. Level of story. 8. Because the story starts pretty good, you don't actually know what's going to happen and how it is going to happen. And as the story advances, you start learning about this universe and what is going on it. But when you start reaching the tension or the conclusion, it gets just under-explaining such unexpected things that you think they will explain later, but they don't. And sometimes the narrative gets a little bit confusing, but it is not such a big deal. The story is still amazing and gives you a whole new perspective of some DC characters. Okay, there's not much more I can say without spoiling it, so should you read the Just Imagine series? It is up to you now, but I say yes, you should. To get more, should I read? Click on the left, and to get some awesome motion comic songs, click on the right. And remember to share, like and subscribe to get more. But first, who is next?